Let's make some plant-based crab cakes that are also oil-free. Today's show is brought to you in part by Maiden. Maiden designs professional quality products for the home cook that are used in over 2,000 top-rated restaurants and hotel groups across America, with over 100,000 five-star reviews. Welcome back to the Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show, where we make plant-based cooking easy. I'm Jill, and today we're going to make these delicious plant-based crab cakes that are also oil-free, because I had these out at a restaurant just recently and they were so delicious. It was a vegan crab cake made, I think it was with mushrooms. The only downfall was that it was so greasy. So I thought, I really need to make you a version of this with no oil, with no frying it with oil. So to get started, we're going to use our soy curls today. This is 1 cup of soy curls that I've just broken up into smaller pieces. Because they come in kind of bigger chunks, you want them a little bit smaller. But you need to soak them first. And if you have ever had crab cakes before, crab meat has kind of a sweet taste to it. So I'm going to use a couple deglette dates just to lightly sweeten it. If you're going to use medjool dates, I would use probably a half of a medjool. So I'm going to put that in my NutriBullet thing here. And I've got a half a cup of warm water here, but I'm just going to put about a half of it in here. Sorry, that's a cup of warm water. And we're just going to blend this until those dates are really small, either completely pulverized or just really small chunks. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to add the rest of the water in there. And the reason why I only use half of the water is because when you're blending in these, and it's such a small amount that you're blending, like such a small amount of dates, if you're using a lot of water to a small amount of dates, they'll just spin in there. They won't really blend. So you just need to lessen the liquid. Now we're going to put in our soy curls in here. Just get them soaking. And they need to soak for about an hour before you mix it into the mixture. And that's coming next. So I'm going to clear this out and get the mixture together. While we're waiting for that, I'd like to share some background on our show. The Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show is crowd-funded, which means these free weekly recipe videos, along with our entire catalog of free printable recipes on our website, plantbasedcookingshow.com, and our Plant-Based Cooking Made Easy cookbook series, are all made possible in part by the generous patronage of our supporting membership community. So if you love our recipes, I invite you to join us on our mission to make plant-based cooking easy, and follow the link in the description to become a supporting member today. Okay, so now we get to assemble these guys. So I've got 1 can of chickpeas here that I've drained and rinsed. You want to make sure you drain them really well. You don't want any of that liquid left in there. And we're just going to mash them today with our potato masher, or whatever you have. You could do it with a fork, or you could even put it in the food processor a little bit, but this is just a quicker version of this. You just want to mash them until you can't see any of the circular chickpeas left, so they're completely mashed. Okay, now that they're mashed, we're going to put in the rest of our ingredients. We're going to put in our soaked soy curls, and I drained off, if there's any liquid left on it still after soaking, drain that off before you put these in here. Then I have a 1/3 of a cup of chopped spring onions, a half of a red pepper that I've diced really small. You don't want to have any really big chunks in there because the flavor, it kind of overwhelms the crab cakes if the chunks are too big. Then I have half a sheet of nori that I've just tore up into little teeny pieces. It's really difficult to cut with a knife, so it's easier just to tear it up with your fingers. And that's going to give it kind of that seafood flavor. Then I have a 1/3 of a cup of arrowroot powder. If you don't have arrowroot powder, you could use cornstarch or tapioca starch. It all works just about the same. Then I have 2 teaspoons of Old Bay seasoning, which is just a seafood seasoning, but it really gives you that authentic crab cake flavor. Then I've got a tablespoon of some grainy mustard, and then a tablespoon and a half of a low sodium tamari. Now we're just gonna mix this up together. You wanna mix it really well so that you get all of the chickpeas and the Butler soy curls coated with that arrowroot powder, because that's gonna help to bind this all together. And we're gonna let it sit for a few minutes while we're making our dressing, just so it can really absorb all of that stuff and start to stick together better. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, so before I get these cooking on my griddle, I'm gonna get our dressing ingredients out, and we'll put that together before we start frying. All right, now we're gonna make this delicious sauce that you can either dip or spread on the top of your crab cakes. It's essentially kind of like a tartar sauce, so that's what we're going for. Okay, so I've got a half a cup of cashews that I've already soaked for about a half an hour with some warm water, and then I drained off the liquid. That just makes it easier to blend in your blender. We've got a teaspoon of the same grainy mustard. Got a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, a tablespoon of lemon juice, 1 deglette date that's pitted, and then a 1/4 of a teaspoon of onion powder, and a half a cup of water. All right, so now we're just gonna blend this up until it's really smooth and creamy. Okay, so our last ingredient, I don't want to blend these in. These are better if you just leave them whole. This is 2 teaspoons of capers. And if you don't like capers, or if you don't have capers, you could just chop up a little bit of dill pickle. That will work just as well. But the capers are just a little bit more like briny instead of vinegary. And then you're just going to stir it in. Okay, so we're going to leave that set. I'm going to start heating up my griddle, and we'll get on to those crab cakes. Okay, so now we are ready to get these crab cakes rolling. So I've got my griddle here. I turned my burners on medium high. You want to keep them, you don't want to have them on high because they have to stay on the griddle for a few minutes. So you don't want them to burn. So medium high is really your sweet spot. And if you don't have a griddle, you can use a nonstick pan of your choice. All right, so we have enough crab cake stuff here to make about, between 5 and 6, just depending on the size that you make. So I just take them, make a ball, kind of squish it real tight just to get it to squish together and hold together. And then I kind of smooth the edges, and then right on that griddle. And once they're on, you don't want to move them really for a few minutes, because we're not cooking with oil here, so they're not going to slide around. Then you just keep making your other crab cakes here and get them straight on your griddle. So while these are cooking, let me tell you a little bit about this carbon steel griddle from Maiden. The design was inspired by professional kitchen flat tops, so you can see it stretches over 2 of my burners, giving me tons of cooking space. If you watch our show, you know I'm always looking for healthy, non-stick cookware, and this griddle comes pre-seasoned without any toxic chemicals or coatings. It's really versatile too, because it's safe to use over gas burners like I have here, as well as outdoor grills, and even induction and electric stovetops. Okay, I'm gonna finish frying these up, and when they're done, I'll meet you at the table for a taste. Okay, our beautiful little crab cakes are done, and if you want the full recipe, there'll be a link in the description below, along with a link to Maiden Cookware, the sponsor of our show. But now to the eating part. All right, here we go. Pick up one of these little bad boys here. They smell so amazing. Put some of this sauce on it. Oof, can't wait to dig in here. Oops, too big of a bite there. Yum. All right, guys, come on back next week for another great recipe.